my wife whispered. I needed to resolve these feelings about my ex to be fully present in our marriage. But after I found out she'd been seeing him behind my back, her face went white as I realized, like an idiot, it had all been a crazy lie to steal all that I've always been a believer in self-improvement. In pushing yourself, learning new skills, striving to be better than you were yesterday. It's a mindset that served me well in my career, helping me climb the corporate ladder from a lowly entry-level grunt to a mid-level manager at a regional insurance firm. It's also something I tried to instill in my wife, Alicia. Alicia is, well, Alicia is different from me. She's bright, bubbly, and creative, but she's always struggled to find her footing. Worked a string of dead-end retail jobs, never really finding a career that matched her potential. I loved her spirit, her unwavering optimism, but I also worried about her, wanting her to find something that truly fulfilled her. This was what I thought she was doing for the past year. We've been married for 6 years, together for 8. We've built a comfortable life, a cozy home in the suburbs, and a solid foundation of love and trust. We haven't always had it easy, and now she wanted to expand her skills. What was there to be worried about? A little over 2 months ago, Alicia came to me with an idea. She'd been researching online courses, something to help her develop new skills and potentially transition into a more fulfilling career. She'd found a program, an intensive online course in digital marketing, that promised to teach her everything she needed to know to break into the industry. It was expensive, but she was convinced it was worth the investment. The program was supposed to help you make a fortune doing something that everyone uses. I was supportive, of course. I believed in her potential, and I wanted to encourage her to pursue her dreams. I'd been a little worried about our finances and asked how it was that she was going to cover the costs, given that our main source of income was still mine, but I trusted that all would be well. She said, I've been saving up, honey. I've been putting away a little bit from each paycheck, just for something like this. I want to do it. You never pushed me to do something, so you let me do this. I did. But as the weeks passed, the online course began to consume her life. It was more intense than either of us had anticipated, requiring long hours of study, countless assignments, and frequent online meetings with instructors and fellow students. Alicia spent all her evenings hunched over her laptop, her brow furrowed in concentration, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She was often still working at midnight, fueled by coffee and a desperate determination to succeed. I admired her dedication, her unwavering commitment to her new pursuit. But I also missed her. The laughter, the shared dinners, the quiet evenings on the couch, they all became casualties of her online course. It felt like she was slowly drifting away, her attention consumed by a world I couldn't access. She told me, Honey, I appreciate you. I am not trying to put you aside for what I am doing. This is for you and for me, so that we have more to give to the world. You should be more excited. The late nights also started to stretch into the weekends. Alicia would disappear into her home office for hours on end, emerging only for brief meals or hurried bathroom breaks. She became increasingly secretive about her coursework, reluctant to share details about her assignments or her interactions with her instructors. It's just complicated, she'd say, brushing off my questions. You wouldn't understand. It's all marketing jargon and technical stuff. I tried to be supportive, to respect her need for space and concentration, but the lack of communication was starting to wear me down. I felt like I was living with a ghost, a shell of the woman I had married, her attention focused entirely on a virtual world I couldn't penetrate. Then, there were the financial oddities. Alicia started making unexplained purchases, small but frequent expenses that didn't align with our budget. New software subscriptions, online learning resources, and a surprising number of deliveries from Amazon. I never touched her credit card, which I started thinking more and more about. I knew her PIN and had always wanted to believe her and give her space. But it might be time for me to step in again and see what I could do. What are all these charges, Alicia? I asked one evening, as we were reviewing our bank statement. I don't recognize half of these. She hesitated, her expression becoming guarded. Oh, those are just course materials, she said, her voice slightly defensive. You know, books, software, things I need for my assignments. It's all part of the program. I pressed her further, asking for specifics, but she became evasive, accusing me of being controlling and distrustful. Why are you always questioning me, Mark? she snapped, her eyes flashing with anger. Can't you just trust me? I'm trying to build a better future for us, and all you do is criticize me. The argument ended with her storming off to bed, leaving me alone in the living room, staring at the computer screen, feeling a growing sense of unease. I wanted to support her dreams, to celebrate her ambition, but something felt wrong. Something was off. I just couldn't be 100% sure. I wanted to find out what exactly was going on. And the final straw was what I was about to discover next. The fight had left a chill in the apartment that no amount of thermostat adjustments could dispel. I went to bed, or tried to, replaying our argument, dissecting her words, searching for some hidden meaning. The trust that had once been the bedrock of our relationship felt like it was crumbling, leaving behind a foundation of doubt and suspicion. It felt like a new world and a new set of problems to solve. In the days that followed, Alicia became even more engrossed in her online course. She'd spend hours locked away in her home office, her face illuminated by the glow of her laptop screen, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She was always busy, always working, always on a deadline. She was still her great old self. Nothing seemed to be wrong, but as someone who has been with her for over 8 years, there were things that only I knew. I felt a cold hand creeping around my neck. Our communication dwindled to brief, functional exchanges. Good morning, good night. What's for dinner? The emotional intimacy we had once shared, the easy laughter, the quiet moments of connection, seemed to vanish altogether, leaving me feeling isolated and alone in my own home. If there was one thing I wanted, it was to hear her words again, for real. It wasn't just the time commitment. It was the secrecy that bothered me most. Alicia had always been an open book, sharing her thoughts, her feelings, her triumphs, and her struggles. Now, she clammed up whenever I asked about her coursework, deflecting my questions with vague answers and platitudes about learning new skills and expanding her horizons. I started noticing new terminology as well. At first, she tried to speak them at home to get into character. Now, it seemed to be a switch that was always on, and she couldn't turn it off at any moment in time. It was all odd. I tried to get to know these people by being more involved in the process, but she would immediately shut me down. Was it just because this time to work on herself, or was there something else going on? I knew I had to figure things out one way or another to preserve my own sanity. One evening, as she was preparing for a late-night study session, I casually asked about her instructors. So, who are you working with these days? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. Anyone interesting? She hesitated, her eyes darting nervously around the room. Oh, just some people, she said, her voice tight. You wouldn't know them. They're all experts in their field. I pressed further, unable to resist the urge to probe. What are their names? What do they do? She stiffened, her expression hardening. Mark, why are you doing this? Why are you always interrogating me? I told you, it's just a course. It's nothing to worry about. I'm not worried, I said, trying to sound calm. I'm just curious. I want to know what you're learning, who you're spending so much time with. She exploded, her carefully constructed composure shattering. It's none of your business, Mark. It's my life, my career, my decision. Why can't you just support me instead of questioning everything I do? Her words were like a slap in the face, a harsh reminder that I was an outsider, excluded from a world that was rapidly consuming her. The argument escalated quickly, fueled by weeks of pent-up frustration and unspoken fears. We traded accusations, dredged up old grievances, and tore at each other with words that felt like shards of glass. The fight ended, as they often did, with Alicia storming off to her home office, slamming the door behind her, leaving me alone in the living room, the silence amplifying the hollowness of our failing connection. But now, I had to act with haste. If I was going to uncover what was happening, it would have to happen now, while she was sleeping. That night, after Alicia had finally drifted off to sleep, I crept into her home office, my heart pounding in my chest. The room was dimly lit by the glow of her laptop screen, casting long, distorted shadows across the walls. I felt like a thief, violating her privacy, betraying her trust. But the need to know, to understand what was happening to my marriage, outweighed my guilt. I sat down at her computer and started to scroll. What I was doing could ruin everything, but there was nothing left to lose. The Chrome browser was up, and I started scrolling through what she was last looking at. It was some guy named Dave something or other, who said he was a self-help guru who could bring people to the next level. What in the world was my wife getting into? She also gave him payments. I am not going to lie, the amount was astronomical. It had to be more than what she was making all year in profits from her job. My whole life came together. It was time to solve this case and set things right. Before I continue, there was a lot to put together, but it will require more. It was time for the update. As the days passed, I knew it wasn't going to be what I thought it was. After I secured everything to another drive, I had made up my mind. It would be one of the most difficult things I would do with her, but it had to be done. And I was the only one who was going to be able to do it. Update 1. The cold light of the laptop screen illuminated the harsh reality. My wife was not just taking an online course. She was immersed in a world that was actively excluding me, a world that was being shaped by a charismatic, yet unsettling figure. Dave Miller, the digital marketing guru, was all over Alicia's browsing history. His website promised unleash your inner potential, transform your life, and achieve ultimate success through his unique blend of marketing strategies and personal coaching. His sales pages had all sorts of jargon: funnel-based conversion, influencer engagement loops, monetize your passion, all of them to sell nothing. It was all meant to prey on people like my wife, all of them, I assumed, struggling to find their place in the world. His face was plastered everywhere, slickly produced videos, testimonials from beaming students, and before and after photos showcasing dramatic transformations. He had a piercing gaze, a confident smile, and a way of speaking that was both inspiring and slightly unsettling. It was the kind of polished, almost too perfect persona that makes you instantly suspicious of multi-level marketing schemes. He always wore the same shirt and had the same hair. What was that about? I knew it wasn't much, and that's when I saw it all the first time. Her new purchases, the reasons why she had been staying up late, or the time she's had to go away. This had to be a piece. Driven by a gut feeling, I looked up Dave Miller and looked for other people to see what they thought of him. People talked about his expensive courses, which had all required Alicia to put information there and then, his cult-like personality, and his promise to help people quit their 9 to 5 to chase their dreams. After seeing this, I knew all of it was not a great thing to see. The money all made sense now, as I saw some information that he was running one of those schemes where you just give money, and then the scheme gets rug pulled after a while. She had given a lot to him. It also confirmed that nothing was adding up anymore. All this seemed like the type of online grift that you would hear about and laugh at, not something that affected you. Yet here I was, being a victim of it. The financial piece meant a lot. I'd been so stressed about it, trying to come to an understanding, to have empathy for what she did. Now, that patience was gone. In its place, it seemed, was more anger that the problems had affected my side of the bargain, what had been put on me. That's when I saw it. An Excel spreadsheet on Alicia's desktop, labeled coursework. I double-clicked it, and my stomach dropped. It wasn't just a list of assignments and deadlines. It was a meticulously detailed log of our finances, our schedules, our relationship dynamics, and even our personal conversations. It was a comprehensive profile, as if she was treating our life as a marketing case study. I quickly backed everything up. There were notes about my strengths and weaknesses, my insecurities, my career aspirations, and even my sexual preferences. There were also detailed observations about our arguments, our communication patterns, and our overall compatibility, all framed in the language of marketing metrics: low engagement, negative ROI, churn potential. I began to copy everything I thought was useful to me, or that I thought was going to be useful to my case. It might be wrong and might violate privacy, but if I was going to save myself, I would be willing to go through those measures. The document also contained a section labeled Targeting Strategies, outlining ways to influence my behavior, to manipulate my emotions, and to subtly steer me towards decisions that benefited Dave Miller's program. It was chilling, a cold, calculated roadmap for dismantling my life. And that's where I decided to send it to myself via email. So even if I was discovered, there were at least going to be some methods that I could fall back on, or some things to hold on to. My mind was reeling. Was everything with Alicia all part of some big scheme? Had her affections for me been faked? I had to look at that number again and realize something. I had seen it before. Where had I seen it before? A person who had come by. It finally clicked. Someone from her work. This had all been an elaborate act. This person she barely knew was going to be part of our lives forever. I could not trust a person ever again. And as I was thinking about what to do, she came in. The phone was on her, and she started getting defensive. The plan had to be made in a certain way. But as I was going to ask, I got a phone call. But I didn't recognize the number. After a bit of back and forth, I said, "I want you to stay here," and took the phone call. It was all coming together. The police were outside. It was all going to come together. That was when she said, "How did you find out?" Her response was enough. We had our confrontation, and now, everything would soon fall apart or come back together. The police were about to go in. It had gotten to this point. There was no turning back. Final update. Seeing the realization dawn on Alicia's face, the dawning horror as she understood that her secret world had been exposed, was a hollow victory. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, had become a stranger, a deceiver, and a master manipulator. As I stared down at the phone, replaying that text in my mind, I could no longer hold in everything that had been building in my soul. "Honey, you've lied to me for too long." And in that moment, as if on cue, there was a sharp knock at the door. I paused. Sarah looked very concerned. "That can't be who I think it is," she said as she realized I was about to get up. I could see her adrenaline starting to pump. I was going to let them in. At that point, I made sure to walk over to the door and open it, and reveal two police officers. I had called them. I just wanted to find everything out with my own power. But when I started thinking about it, it would mean she would never face any consequences, which was why I called them. That was when she started to break. "Why, Mark, why?" she yelled and cried and begged. It wasn't a situation that I was happy about, but I knew it was what had to happen. What did this mean for what our lives would turn into, as well as the life that she wanted to lead for so long? There was nothing that I could do. Everything had just changed. This meant the end to everything that had built up over all the years. And here she was, making it happen so fast. I wasn't able to make sense of all of it, and I did not know if I could ever do so. Was this my closure? Things happened quickly from there. The police arrested her, and all sorts of horrible details came out, from how she was planning all this to steal money, to create a new business, and all sorts of crazy things that would change what life for me would be. It was insane, and I could never have imagined I would get to this place. But it had. In the aftermath, I was able to have all the charges dropped on me, and had all the support I had ever needed from all of my friends. Lucy especially was amazing and gave what was needed to me. I'm sure that this was a part of life, but that was all there was to it. What was I doing to do? Where was I going to go? It was so hard to imagine. She was gone and off to what will be her new life. I'm not sure if I wanted to know. In my therapy sessions, I realized there would be a lot to work through. I was a part of me, and the part of me wanted to let go and begin to build a new life with all the strength I had in me. And if I did not take it, I would never get to experience the peace I was so desperate to obtain. It had been so long, in fact, that I had almost given up, but it all worked out. I felt so free. And as I walked off into the horizon to pursue my dreams, I knew everything was going to be okay. As I breathed, I remembered how everything had taken place. That was how that portion of my life had ended.